Hello friends, continuing with the subject health education, in that we have started the second chapter nutrition and health. These are the contents as I said earlier. In this definition we have covered of nutrition, then what is food, important functions of food, three different classifications of food, classification by nutrients, that is carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals. So that is classification by nutrient. Then classification by origin. So food article obtained from plant source, animal source and mineral source, that we have seen. Then according to functions, isn't it? So in that we have seen energy giving foods, body building foods and protective foods. Now also we have covered carbohydrates. We know what are carbohydrates. It is a principal source of energy. We have seen functions, sources, and in that roughage, that is fibers. So what is the role of fibers in our body? That also we have covered. Now next is fats. Now you see what is the composition of fats. Fats, they contain glycerol and fatty acids. So chemically fats are composed of glycerol and fatty acids. Now these fatty acids may be saturated or unsaturated, isn't it? So it depends. We get these fats from animal source also as well as vegetable source also. Now fats are composed of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now this composition of carbohydrates is also same. Fats also contain same composition, but the percentage of this element is different, and carbohydrates are said to be concentrated source of energy, isn't it? Carbohydrates are also source of energy, but fats are said as concentrated source of energy, isn't it? Now here there are fatty acids which are synthesized in our body, isn't it? So those which are synthesized in our body, they are called non-essential because they are formed in our body. Whereas the fatty acids which are not synthesized in our body but they are essential, they are necessary, they are called essential fatty acids. So you must know the example of essential fatty acids: linoleic acid and linolenic acid. And non-essential there are many more, so that also you must know, like palmitic acid, oleic acid and uh, many other acids are also there, isn't it? Now sources of fats. As I said, we get this from animal source also as well as from plant source also. Now, from animal origin, we get ghee, butter, milk, cheese, eggs, isn't it? And fat from meat and fish also. Now, oily fishes, isn't it? So that is the fat, isn't it? Now, from plant origin, we get vegetable oils like groundnut oil, coconut oil, palm oil, mustard oil, isn't it? Canola oil, sesame oil, corn oil. All these are from plant origin. Then other sources which are rich in fats like cereals, pulses, oil seeds, soybean, safflower, cotton seed, rice bran and leafy green vegetables. These are important sources of fats. Now, functions of fats. So, they perform important functions in our body, isn't it? Like they contribute to texture and taste. So, food containing fats, they are very tasty and they give texture to our skin. Our skin is good looking, isn't it? So, that texture is only because of fats. Then it increase palatability of diet. That means, as I said, that food which is rich in fat, that is more tasty, isn't it? And it is palatable, it is acceptable, isn't it? Now next function is for meeting the needs of essential fatty acids like linoleic acid and linolenic acid. So we have to take fats from outside. That is another important function. Then fats are said to be concentrated source of energy, rich source of energy. So they provide double energy than carbohydrates and fats, isn't it? And especially these fats, they provide energy to our body in starvation. In starvation means when you are having fast, upas, vrat वगैरह जो होता है, at that time whatever energy we get to our body, that is only because of fats. Then they are the carriers for fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E and K. So they act as a carrier and also they promote absorption of these fat soluble vitamins. Then the another important function is that they impart feeling of fullness and satisfaction, and whatever this hunger is there, that is satisfied, isn't it? The other important functions also you must know that these fats provide support to many organs of our body like heart, kidney, eyes and intestine. Then fat is useful in formation of cholesterol and steroidal hormones in body also, isn't it? Then these fats, they form a fatty layer below the skin, isn't it? And this is useful in maintaining our body temperature, and our body is protected from excessive heat and cold. These are some of the important functions of fats. Now deficiency of fat. Now if there is deficiency, if we are not taking fat rich diet, so what will happen? So that will give rise to cessation of growth. That means our growth will stop, our skin that may become rough, that is called lusterless skin, dry skin, and dry skin may give rise to skin diseases also. Then they cause flaky skin, that means rough skin. Then development of itchy sores on scalp. So if skin is dry, that will give rise to itching also, isn't it? Then phynoderma or toad skin, so that is a skin disorder, isn't it? That happens when there is deficiency of fats. Now on the other hand, if one is taking fat rich diet regularly and if he is taking in more amount, so that will give rise to obesity. Obesity means lathapana, stoolpana, motapa. Then it slow down digestion and absorption of food. So fat rich diet, that takes more time for digestion, and also the absorption also is very slow. Then fat rich diet interferes in absorption of calcium, isn't it? So calcium absorption is interrupted, and it also causes ketosis, isn't it? So regarding ketosis, you will learn in biochemistry subject. That is about the fats. Next, we will concentrate on proteins. Now protein is another nutrient which is most essential of all nutrients of food, and this protein has got many more important functions that also we will see today, isn't it? Now the molecule which gives amino acid upon hydrolysis are called proteins. So proteins are made up of simpler units, they are called amino acids. Now these are natural polymer of amino acids. Now the number of amino acids in a protein molecule may range from 2 to several thousands. So only 2 molecules may be there, or it may be in 100 or thousands also. Chemically, these proteins contain nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, isn't it? So there are uh, 22 amino acids which are very important and that are needed by our body, isn't it? We see those amino acids also which are needed by our body. Now before that we will see important sources of proteins. Now again we have animal source and plant source. Animal source, eggs, milk, fish, meat, isn't it? So meat will include everything, isn't it? Pork, beef, mutton, chicken, liver, isn't it? These are animal source proteins, isn't it? Then plant source proteins, so cereals that will include wheat, rice, maize, barley, isn't it? Then legumes, pulses like uh, red gram, isn't it? Bengal gram, green gram, peas, soybean, cashew nut, groundnut, roots and tubers also are having good source of protein. Now, both proteins are important for our body. From nutritional point of view, animal proteins are considered superior to vegetable proteins because they contain all essential amino acids which are needed by the body. But animal proteins are expensive and all persons, especially poor persons, cannot afford, they cannot take. And many people on religious grounds, those who are vegetarian, so they cannot take animal proteins. On other hand, vegetable proteins are cheap. They are not expensive as compared to animal protein and they are readily available. But they are not said superior because they are deficient in one or more of the essential amino acids which are needed by body. Therefore, plant protein or vegetable protein that is said to be inferior to animal proteins. A mixed diet containing both animal and vegetable protein meets the demand of our body, isn't it? So that is about the importance of proteins and sources. Functions, so what functions are carried out in our body that we will see. So it is a vital in maintenance of body tissue including development and repair. So repair and maintenance of body tissue you can write down, isn't it? Repair and maintenance of body tissue for normal growth and development of the body, isn't it? Then protein is involved in creation of some. Creation means synthesis, formation of hormones, isn't it? It helps control body functions that involve interaction of several organs and help regulate cell growth. So the growth of cell, isn't it? Then synthesis of hormones, enzymes, hemoglobin, plasma proteins, they are taking place in presence of proteins. So proteins, as it is written in last point, it produces enzymes that increase rate of chemical reactions in the body. So enzymes are also formed with the help of proteins. Then it is also necessary for maintenance of osmotic pressure also. So these are important functions of proteins. Now essential amino acids, as I said, that the proteins are made up of simpler units, that is called amino acids. Now as I said earlier that 22 amino acids are needed by our body. Now out of these, 10 are such which cannot be synthesized by body. They are called essential amino acids. So this question is also very important. You must know what are essential amino acids and the example of all 10 essential amino acids. So the definition is amino acids which cannot be synthesized by our body but are necessary, isn't it? They are called essential amino acids, isn't it? So here the name of 10 essential amino acids as it is in your slide displayed: histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, valine and arginine. These are the 10 essential amino acids. Again I repeat, when question is asked, you have to give definition and all names of 10 essential amino acids. These are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, valine and arginine. Now all these have got important role in our body, isn't it? On the same time, you must know the some of the names of non-essential amino acids also. So non-essential amino acids are those which can be synthesized in the body. That is the difference between essential and non-essential. Essential, why they are essential? Because they are not synthesized in body, therefore they are taken from outside. Whereas non-essential, they are formed, they are synthesized in the body, therefore they are not taken from outside, they are formed in the body, like alanine, aspartic acid, glutamic acid, glycine, proline, tyrosine, cysteine, etc. Now, here the next part is the deficiency of proteins. So, here we must know protein requirement also first. So, the daily requirement of protein in adult is 1 gram per kg body weight, and it it is advisable, desirable that 1/5 must be animal protein. Now, this requirement of protein varies in the age wise, we can say. In small children's, that is infants who are below 1 year, so in that the requirement is more. Again, in case of females who are pregnant, the protein requirement is more. Again, when the females are feeding their child by mother's milk, that is in lactation, in that also when newer tissues are formed, the requirement of protein is more, isn't it? Now, there are certain protein deficiency diseases also. So, diseases that are caused by lack of some particular nutrient in person's diet are called deficiency diseases. Here we will concentrate on the protein deficiency. So, protein deficiency is called protein energy malnutrition. Now other diseases are also there that we will discuss one by one. So this we can call protein energy malnutrition, PEM, or you can call PCM, protein calorie malnutrition. You must know the long form of PEM and PCM, isn't it? It is important from exam point of view, isn't it? Now the protein deficiency give rise to muscle wasting, that means weak muscles are there, isn't it? It causes edema, that is accumulation of fluid. Then loss of appetite, that means uh, भूख नहीं लगती है, isn't it? Loss of appetite, loss of strength, weakness, and loss of weight. So body weight is also lost. Then lethargy, that means the person is not active, alert. Depression and slow wound healing. So if any wound is there, zakham, so that will not get cured immediately, isn't it? Now this protein energy malnutrition is because of deficiency of proteins in the food. This is more common in developing countries, isn't it? Where there is shortage of protein and energy rich foods, isn't it? So the growth is affected in children's. Mental retardation. So if proteins, if they are deficient, if the newborn baby, small children do not get proteins, so mentally also they are weak, they are mentally retarded, isn't it? Other important disease that is related to deficiency of proteins is called Kwashiorkor. So you must know what is Kwashiorkor also, isn't it? The meaning of Kwashiorkor is that it is due to very low consumption of proteins in diet. Now this condition is seen in case of children who are 1 to 4 years of age, isn't it? So below, in between 1 to 4 years of age, due to lack of proteins in the diet, it is seen. Now here, as you see the figure, the child who is suffering from Kwashiorkor, so symptoms are changes in skin pigment, isn't it? Then decreased muscle mass, so weak muscles are there, diarrhea is there, loose motions, then failure to gain weight, growth is retarded, weight gain is not found, hairs they change in color or texture, isn't it? Then severe infections may be there due to damaged immune system. So immunity is also very less. Irritability is there. Large belly. So the belly you will see that is very big, isn't it? Then lethargy, as I said, that the person is not active. Loss of muscle mass. Rashes may be there on the skin, isn't it? Swelling may be there, edema, shock. These are the important symptoms of Kwashiorkor. So many times the question is asked on write a note on Kwashiorkor and marasmus also. So next is marasmus. So both are the we can say protein energy malnutrition or protein calorie malnutrition. Now marasmus, the difference is that that kwashiorkor is due to low proteins or low consumption of proteins in diet, whereas marasmus is due to deficiency of all three proteins, carbohydrates, and fats in the diet of infants who are deprived of breast milk. That means the children, especially who are not getting mother's milk, who are getting diluted cow's milk from outside, so they may suffer from marasmus, isn't it? Because the cow's milk, which is diluted, that is not sufficient for normal growth and development of the child, isn't it? So this marasmus also occurs in the age of 1 to 5 years of age, isn't it? The symptoms you will see that opposite to kwashiorkor, isn't it? Here there is severe effect on the growth. So severe growth retardation. Retardation means the growth which is stopped. The growth where it is not taking place, that is called retardation. Then loss of subcutaneous fat, isn't it? Severe muscle wasting, isn't it? The child wrinkled skin is there, isn't it? Then the child looks apparently thin, very thin, isn't it? Then mostly the hungriness is also affected, isn't it? Dehydration may be there, isn't it? Muscles are very weak. So overall irritability, isn't it? Frequently watery diarrhea. Most of the symptoms you will find similar, but here the retardation is very remarkable. So muscles, they are very uh, thin, isn't it? Wasting of muscles is there, and growth is highly retarded, isn't it? Edema is also there. These are important symptoms of marasmus. Now, how this marasmus and kwashiorkor can be prevented? So, here, as we have seen that kwashiorkor is due to the lack of proteins in the diet of the children. So, one must have protein-rich diet. We are concentrating on proteins. So, because of lack of proteins, isn't it? The child suffers from kwashiorkor and marasmus. So here, how it can be prevented? Very first is promotion of breastfeeding, isn't it? That means the childrens must be strictly given mother's milk. They must be fed by breastfeeding only, isn't it? Then development of low cost weaning, isn't it? Then nutrition education and promotion of correct feeding practices. So nutrition related education is very important for the females, isn't it? Then family planning and spacing of births, isn't it? So when now this we will learn later on, you will get the idea that when the space is not there between the existing child and the newborn baby, so that affects the health of females, and repeated pregnancy, repeated conception also affects the health of females. And if females are weak, if mothers are weak, definitely the growth of the child also will get affected. Then immunization, so vaccination is also very important. Food fortification, so fortification means what? The food that is made uh, rich in energy, we can say, isn't it? So rich in proteins, rich in carbohydrates, rich in fats, isn't it? Simultaneously vitamins and minerals are also given, and in this fashion the food is fortified, it is made energy rich or bodybuilding food, isn't it? And another important point in prevention is that early diagnosis and treatment. Now, say for example, if any child is suffering from kwashiorkor or marasmus, so without any delay, without wasting time, if this disorder, if it is identified earlier, so early diagnosis helps in proper treatment, isn't it? And properly when the child is treated, so he can be protected from these protein deficiency diseases, because due to protein deficiency also, apart from kwashiorkor, marasmus, and other whatever the symptoms we have seen, there are chances that the child may get expired, isn't it, as soon as he is born. So deficiency of proteins in pregnancy, if it is occurring, it may give rise to stillbirth. Stillbirth means the child is dead at the time of delivery. Then low birth weight. Birth weight is affected at the time of birth. Anemia may be there. Mental retardation may be there, isn't it? And underdeveloped child. So all these are the other protein deficiency effects also. So here we finish up with the fats and proteins. Thank you.